Hello, everyone, and welcome to 360 Retirement. I'm your host, Paul Gebhardt, with our guest today, Keith Wiltfong of Capstone Planning. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
No, it's great to be back, Paul.
It's always good to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
Good to see you. And I know lots of things are going on for you down there in Florida. You know, you guys are expanding.
Yep, expanding and staying very busy.
Staying
Yes.
busy, which is good,
Yeah.
right? That means you're helping people.
Yeah, but so it's expanding. We're actually in the process of constructing our own building, which is really exciting. It's going to be 6,400 square feet, and it's going to really allow us to expand our capabilities, bring on some additional staff so we can help more people.
Well, that's good. That's what it's about. That's exactly what the goal is. And speaking of that, I wanted to break in today and talk a little bit about something that traditionally maybe folks don't get into. There's a lot of people out there giving advice on budgets,
Yeah.
helping people with their credit, you know, that give thing, right? And look, I think there's wonderful things out there, don't get me wrong, but it's the old adage, you don't really get anything for nothing. Most folks are either selling your information or they're doing something with it.
Sure.
But I wanted to ask you, when it comes to budgeting, let's just talk about the subject. Is there an approach that you work with people in retirement that's any really different than what it is post or pre-retirement?
Yeah, so initially, if someone's currently working
Yeah.
and they say, hey, I want to retire in 5 years, 10 years, or even next year, we'll try to first establish, hey, what's our budget look like today? And sometimes it's as simple as, do you have money left over at the end of the month? Or if you have it in the bank, it pretty much gets spent. So that's usually the initial question where we'll start from, just to say where we are today. If someone's in retirement or they're getting ready to retire, we'll actually establish a retirement budget, just in the sense of how much do we think we're going to need from month to month. And we try to keep it relatively high level, but we also want to make sure we allocate for things like, you know, long-term care, like that's something going to be down the road, and really build a holistic plan that's going to be tax efficient. So we make sure that that budget's going to be fueled each and every single month. And then that really goes into our stress testing, is after we've kind of developed that budget and we take a look at kind of where everything's positioned currently and where it potentially could be positioned to be more optimal. Is that budget going to work not only now, but is it going to work through retirement? And I would say the one thing that we always kind of encourage, just from our experiences, we always say, let's make the budget a little top heavy right now when you know you're feeling good.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
You can walk up the stairs, right, without stopping every 3.
Right.
Where you might not be able to do that in 15 or 20 years. So let's go ahead and weight the budget a little bit heavier now. And then as time goes on, as you get older into, you know, 75, 80, 85, then we can kind of scale it back. We're still going to be keeping up with inflation.
Sure.
And then as we get, you know, into those later years, 85, 90, and we're really probably going to scale back up the budget because most likely we're going to have some type of long-term care cost. If that's going to be either maybe home health care where somebody just comes in and helps out, or if it's going to be something, you know, like a full-time facility. And if you have like a history of Alzheimer's or something like that, that's where we're going to really spend a lot of time in that final budget. Just really want to prepare for risk. Our opinion of retirement is it's all about risk management. So if we can help alleviate or mitigate some of the risks like longevity risk or government policy risk, higher taxes, inflation risk, if we can help mitigate some of those risks like portfolio risk, right?
Yeah.
Then we're going to be a lot better set up for retirement, not just today, but going forward.
Right. You know, can we talk about an aspect, because you're talking about risk management,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you're addressing this, because I really think a lot of people focus on risk management from the financial side, the money side primarily, really. They think about that because their minds don't always shift. In the accumulation phase, they're younger, they got time on their side, right? They like to see that growth, that gain. And let's just face it, we like to continue that. But how important is it for people to really start paying attention to the value of time? How much is the time horizon a key component to that?
Right, because at the end of the day, I mean, think the ultimate equalizer, where we're all equal, is we all have the same amount of minutes in a day. So it's the true equalizer is time. And let's face it, we're mere mortals, and time is finite.
Yes.
And I think a lot of the advice that comes from some heavy institutions that ride every ebb and every flow of the market is they assume that you're like an institution and going to live forever.
Yes.
And that's just not the case.
Great point.
So what we'll try to do is structure a plan that's going to play a little bit defense, and then also we're going to have basically a bucket that's going to be more offensive as well. Because we want to get that good miss. But as it relates to risk, the biggest thing, and this is so personal, is how much risk is okay for you. Because that is a question that is completely different for each person. And then what we'll do is we'll actually plug in a number, and then we'll say, instead of a percentage, right? You have a $500,000 portfolio, and say, are you okay with it going down 20%? With our upside to be 30% or average 10%, does that sound okay? And they say, well, yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
And I say, so are you okay with losing $100,000 in a period of time? Like, well, no, I don't think so. Right? So when you put it into real dollars.
Did you say 100,000, Keith?
Right. Like, how many, was that 2 years of work, 1 year of work, couple of years of work? Like, what did it take to earn that?
Yeah.
And that's where I think having that holistic plan is so important.
Yes.
Saying, being able to allow for that risk, one, or two, say, hey, we're okay that we can take a little less risk. I'm going to sleep better at night. I'm going to have more peace of mind around my plan, knowing that I'm not going to move that much in a portfolio mix or in an asset allocation mix. So depending on the person, that's really how we structure the risk. It's all about that individual or couple. And what's really funny is kind of where I put the marriage counselor hat on a little bit is when, sometimes I'll ask the wife who may be a little bit more conservative, and then the husband's who are a little bit more aggressive, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of finding a mix. And what's really funny is how different that is.
Oh, sure.
I mean, every now and then I think I kind of get lucky and they're on the same page, but I think that's more the rarity.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because everybody is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And they look at money from different perspectives.
And they all have different experiences too.
Yes.
So like, I mean, a lot of houses growing up talking about money and stuff is very taboo. You just don't do it.
Yep.
And I kind of think, just from a societal standpoint, I think if we have more conversations, more understanding around money, we'd have people that are more, I think, financially secure, not only now, but also into retirement.
Yeah.
Because so often, I mean, I understand, I got 3 little ones myself. So actually taking the time and understanding that, hey, I need to put away some money now so I'll be okay later, can be very difficult when you have a family and the car breaks down, you need a new roof or the air conditioner.
Yeah, there's always something happening, yes.
So that's where that budgeting really comes into play.
Absolutely, it does, 100%. I wanted to ask you a question on, I get a lot about 401ks.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. I mean, let's face it, a lot of folks out there, they may have an older 401k and they've left behind from a job. They've always meant to do something with it, but never did. Am I talking to you out there? Because let me tell you something, I did it myself. And then sometimes it's multiple 401ks I've seen that happen, right? And they don't really realize what the options are. Are you guys willing to help folks with a 401k that maybe you didn't even set up?
Yeah, absolutely. So one, if it's like a small business, we actually can help set up and facilitate those.
Yeah.
But if it's an existing 401k, a lot of the times, if you're currently working, unless they allow what's called an in-service distribution, you really can't do too much with it. You really can't move it. But what we'll do is actually take a look at the allocation options that we do have available, and then we'll make recommendations based on the development of that holistic plan to say, hey, based on where you want to go and based on your goals and what we want to accomplish, what we should do is invest, in XYZ or an ABC. And then for those people that I would say kind of want to put it on autopilot and don't have an advisor to go to, usually a lot of funds or a lot of 401k plans or 403b plans will have what's called a target date fund.
Yep.
And so it'll be a target date, say 2030. And what this is basically the date that you want to retire. The huge benefit there is it kind of puts it on autopilot, right? Every single, usually quarter, it's going to get reallocated to be a little bit more conservative. So when you reach that retirement date, if we do have something like a 2008, you're not going to get completely whacked.
Surprise.
So if you don't have that expertise, but we obviously going to recommend you give us a call.
Right. Well, speaking of which, we're going to have to take a break. So why don't you share with everybody what you're offering today?
Yeah, so today what we're offering is, if you have a written plan already, what we're offering is we can stress test that plan for you and actually develop a holistic 360 view of your plan. And when I say stress test, we're going to take a look at different scenarios. What if your spouse predeceases? Or what if you live a very long life where we have high health care costs? What if we have an increase in taxes? all those kind of what ifs in life, we're going to stress test for you. So give us a call for the first 10 callers. The number is 888-222-4498.
Yeah, and again, that's complimentary, completely complimentary, but you got to claim your spot. It's up to you to take action, right? Who do you count on to help you with your retirement plan? That's an important question you need to ask yourself. You can start today. 888-222-4498. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to 360 Retirement, everybody. Again, I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with our guest today, Keith Wiltfong of Capstone. Keith, again, thank you so much for the information. Just incredible stuff. Talking about budgeting, and retirement budgeting and how that can change. So that's really important. But I wanted to ask you a question because I get this a lot. And it really, look, I'm in the industry. I'm on the property casualty side. I'm a huge believer in life insurance. My mother passed away without it. I saw firsthand. It's why I chose the path of financials. That's why I went down that road. Help people out there because they get a lot of crazy information from a lot of things on the internet, radio personalities who tell them to never do this, which always drives me nuts. I don't know how you do that without knowing people. I mean, it's amazing to me. But so what is the differences really with term, whole life, and why should a person have one or the other? Is one of them bad? What should people really understand about life?
Yeah, I think when it comes to life insurance, there's no, I think anybody like you says this is always the wrong answer, this is always the right answer. I think they're both wrong because depending on a person's situation, I always look at different vehicles as like a tool to ultimately get to us to an end goal.
Yes.
So what vehicles allow us to get to that goal most efficiently is kind of what we're looking at. And I think for young people, it serves, term life insurance just makes a ton of sense just because the only way to ensure that risk is through basically, most likely you're throwing your money away to a certain degree.
Sure.
But you're insuring against that outside chance that something happens. Like I personally, because I have 3 little ones at home and a wife that counts on the income, I have large term policies.
Yes.
And there's other policies as far as there's a concept that's called like be your own bank.
Right.
And this is more or less a cash value life insurance. And it works well in some scenarios, and in other scenarios, it doesn't work as well. So one scenario what we recently saw it work out pretty nice is because the housing market was doing pretty well, right? And this individual client wanted basically a vacation home in North Carolina. And they were saying, we're really only looking for cash offers. And the person didn't happen to have $500,000 laying around in cash. So they had a whole life policy that they were able to borrow from and then go ahead and purchase this home. And then they have the option to either, hey, now we can get a permanent mortgage on it. We're going to have a lower interest rate guaranteed for the next 20 or 30 years, right? And then we can pay back the whole life policy.
Wow.
Or the other option is we can leave it loaned from the whole life policy. And a lot of these vehicles have the ability to where it gives you a fixed interest rate percent, say 4%. And then usually the rate of return on it is variable. But if it's averaging, say, 5 or 6%, then you're actually making a 1 to 2% arbitrage on money that you already have allocated somewhere else.
Because you're doing what again? What's that concept?
Being your own bank.
Being your own bank. What an
Right.
interesting concept, ladies and gentlemen. Listen carefully to that one. There's a well-known person, Walt Disney, as a matter of fact. That's if you look up Walt Disney, how he got started, look at how he did that. It's an amazing, amazing story.
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest concerns, though, is really understanding the rules
Yes.
around life insurance. I think
Yes.
all too often they're set up incorrectly. And the worst thing you can happen is what's called a modified endowment contract, or called MEC.
Okay.
So if a policy MECs, all the money that was then taken out of the policy
Mm,
is then taxable.
Taxed.
So now all of a
Okay.
sudden you have a tax nightmare of 500,000 in
Yes.
this scenario. So understanding the rules and working with an advisor that really understands the policies is really paramount. And kind of the general concept of these policies is if we have a high cash value and then we have a little bit of a lower death benefit, the actual difference between that is the cost of insurance.
right. Mortality rate.
And if we can get that cost of insurance as low as possible, then it works, a little bit more like an investment. But at the end, you have to have the need for the death benefit, in my opinion, to make sense out of it.
Makes sense.
Because also the nice thing about the life insurance aspect of it is it's an investment that's self-completing.
Yes.
So if all the premium payments weren't made, and if you were to pass, that's the vast majority of time a tax-free death benefit to either a spouse or beneficiaries.
Gotcha. So it's important for folks to remember why they're buying what they're
Yes.
buying, right?
And understand what they're
And
buying.
then understanding it is key, right? And then knowing all the benefits, because you're absolutely right. Knowing the rules and how they operate within them. I love what you said. There's no right or wrong there.
And if someone out there, if you have a policy and you want us to take a look at it, what we actually do is we'll take a look at the life policy. We have like a life insurance kind of MRI. We're going to take a deep underdive of everything, how it works. This is specific to index universal life or variable life or whole life insurance, where we'll actually get the life insurance company on the phone and ask the questions that you may not know to ask.
Yeah.
Just because we've been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah, good. That's very good. It's good information. Thank you so much for sharing that with people. I wanted to get into another area that, I know a lot of folks, it's on their mind. I mean, Social Security is a big part of it. People love, the phrase itself, Social Security, right?
You're right.
People love that. It gives them that reliability there, right? So let's talk a little bit about Social Security. And then I also, if you don't mind, helping folks out with the Medicare sides of things too, right?
Yeah.
So let me start off with the first question I get a ton on Social Security.
Yeah.
When is the right time for me to take it?
Right, and that's a question that we get a lot too. And the answer is it depends, right? Where we sit down and look at it, I think too often the answer that they receive is just take it right away because we're not sure it's going to be there.
Yeah.
And basically it comes from almost an uneducated or ignorant standpoint, where to say, hey, just take it right away, because oftentimes that is not the right answer.
Yeah.
Because Social Security in and of itself is tax efficient compared to just about any other asset, specifically the qualified IRAs, 401ks, 403bs. So usually what we'll sit down is once we actually kind of figure out where the person's at, where we want to go, then we'll do a maximization on Social Security as far as what's the optimal time for your situation to take it. And the end goal is in retirement, we want as least amount of capital as possible to fund that retirement dream because it gives us the most leeway when we start to stress test it. What if we have really bad markets? What if we have really high inflation? What if the taxes all of a sudden go through the roof? So all those different things that we want to play into, the more capital we have available, and at the end of the day, Social Security for the most folks is $1 to $2, maybe $3 million asset when you add up all those monthly premium payments. Plus, it's an asset that keeps up with the cost of living. It has a COLA adjustment each and every year. So if we have a larger amount for Social Security, it can be very beneficial, not only to the family currently, but if one spouse passes. So when one spouse passes, you basically get the higher of the two.
Okay.
So if we can have the higher earning spouse wait a little bit longer and earn those delayed retirement credits of 8% per
8%.
year,
That's pretty impressive.
plus the cost of living,
Yeah.
so average a little over 10% per year. And then, again, the big difference is if we're talking about retirement that's 20, 30, 40 years,
True.
if we talk about that compounding, it may not make a big difference initially, but over time,
Makes a
it's
huge
not
difference.
a really big difference.
Yeah, that's really, really good information. Listen, the phones are lighting up here today, and we have a couple of spots left. Would you remind everybody, Keith, what you're offering them?
Yeah, so what we're offering to the first 10 callers is actually a written plan. A written plan that's going to cover you 360, completely from every angle. We're going to develop a tax-efficient plan for you. If you already have a plan, what we're offering is a complete stress test of your existing plan. The idea here is to give you peace of mind around what you've done and where you want to go. So give us a call, 888-222-4498.
And again, that initial consultation is completely complimentary, but we can only hold so many spots available, right, Keith? So claim yours today. Once you get yourself in the position you want to be in, right? With the people that you plan this retirement with, have that understanding. Maybe you have an existing plan. Maybe you've yet to plan. Make that call. You're the one in control. 888-222-4498. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back, everybody, to 360 Retirement. Again, I'm your host, Paul Gephardt, with my friend today, Keith Wiltfong of Capstone Planning. You know, Keith, we talked a lot about Social Security and Medicare. We briefly touched on. Thank you again for all the great information on the Social Security. But I want to come back to the Medicare part of it because, look, a lot of folks out there are concerned about healthcare costs, right, escalating on them when they retire. So could you help us a little bit have an understanding of Medicare?
Yeah, so it's the alphabet soup that really is the Medicare world. But
Yeah.
You basically have the main Medicare, which is like the A, B, C, and D, right?
Yes.
And then below that, you have the supplements, which basically go A through G.
Yep.
So what we typically recommend is just understanding how they work. So usually between the supplement or basically that Medicare Advantage type plans, usually if people can afford it, we'll lean them more towards the supplement. And the reason that we do that is because it's more of a budgeted healthcare. So say get A, B, D, which is your prescriptions, is the D, that changes every year.
That's huge.
And then get a really good supplement such as like, supplement G, which is going to cover pretty much everything. Again, it's budgeted healthcare. If you compare that to the Advantage plans, which is more or less basically an HMO, so there's a network, which is a small network. It doesn't travel very well. It can be very difficult, but they have low or no cost. And as we know, there's no free lunch.
Sure.
Nothing's for free. So how they work kind of behind the scenes. So in the supplement, the more you use a plan, the more they get paid.
Yeah.
So it's an incentive to go ahead and use it.
Yeah.
In the other plan, in those Medicare Advantage plans that you see a lot of commercials for,
Yes.
it's every time you use it, they lose money. It hurts their profit margins.
Oh.
So if all of a sudden you have a spot on your liver and you want to see a doctor, and they say, hey, it'll take 2 to 3 months to get in, compared to we can get you in this week. So those are the real world differences that we see.
Wow.
Now, not everyone can afford it or budget it for the supplement, but if it's possible, we 100% go in that direction. The difference behind the scenes too is usually the supplement plans pay a very low type commission, where those the big Advantage plans will pay several $100s.
Yeah.
So you got to understand the whole
Yes.
gamut.
Out of it.
And for us, it's really just education more than anything else.
Definitely, and individualized to the individual again. It's funny. I love how you refer to it as the alphabet soup.
Yeah.
I'm so old, Keith. I remember when they had J plans. I remember when the plans went all the way to J. That's how old I am, right? I wanted to ask you because you brought up something about no free lunch. I love that because it's true. Let's face it. Everything in life has a cost.
Yes.
The cost of doing business. Everybody works for an income, right? It's across the board. One of the things I find people really have a tug of war with, and it's, in my opinion, it's just really unnecessary, but it's over commissions versus fee structures.
You're right.
And they really get so tied up with that, they lose focus on their actual plan.
Well, what we see is a lot of people not understanding the fees that they're paying.
Yeah.
So not understanding, they'll say, hey, I see this fee on my statement, but they don't understand that there's like maybe a 12B1 fee or a different management expense. What's the
Right.
expense ratio for those funds?
Yeah.
So really understanding it is a really great place to start. So as we're fee-based, so we do some commission stuff because it's insurance companies. It's just how they operate.
Right.
But primarily we're fee only as far as the advice that we give. And the reason that I like that is that fiduciary advisor is because when you win, I win. When we're going down, I'm going down too. So it really aligns the client and the advisor.
Yeah, and you know what? Ask questions, folks. Ask questions. These are one of the things you want to know. Ask of your current advisor. It's okay, right? Because it's interesting what you talked about. Because commissions, some things, fees in other areas, some of it's up front, some of it's on the end. So it's there's a lot of that. But understanding the overall fit, and most importantly, where you are and how your plan is functioning, right? That's really the key. So don't let the structures cause you fear. Right.
And I would say if someone out there has some type of account that they kind of a retail shop, or if they have a variable annuity,
Yep.
I highly recommend that you make an appointment to come see us. We'll do a fee analysis and just give you a breakdown of exactly what you're paying. We're huge advocates of education and understanding what you own, because when you know what you own, you're a lot more likely to stick forward with a plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where if a little uncertainty comes in, you're not sure about your plan or the fee structure or the cost, you might dump it quickly.
I love it. I love it. Believe it or not, we're coming down to the end again here, Keith. Man, thank you again so much. Fee analysis, what a wonderful offering. That alone, to me, is worth making the call. Finding out where you are. What fees are you paying on those plans? Where are you? What's your retirement look like? Where are you wanting to go? What is the plan? Do you have a plan? When was the last time it was reviewed? Because all this comes down to one question. What do you want your tomorrow to look like? Find out today. Make the call. It's your plan, your personal pension plan for your retirement. All you got to do is give Keith and his team a call. 888-222-4498. We want to thank you for being with us today. Take care of yourselves and enjoy your retirement.